Hello friends, welcome back to Crazy Brave Homeschool. My name is Ashley, and if you're new here, this is my homeschool channel where I document our homeschool experience, educating my third grader and kindergartner. I have a door that keeps kind of closing and opening, so I hope that the lighting doesn't change too much, but I am confined to my trailer again for this video as this is the most private place to film. All right, you guys, I have a big announcement in this video that, well, for some may not be such a big announcement, as I have been in touch with plenty of other YouTubers, homeschool YouTubers, about some of our future plans. But for many of you, you don't know this yet, and I'm really excited to announce it. We have been a Charlotte Mason homeschool for the past couple of years. I've dabbled in a few different pedagogies, but the last couple of years, I have really landed on Charlotte Mason's principles for educating my kids. And that's really been the style of teaching that I've done. And I've looked at several different curriculum companies, some that are pure Charlotte Mason, some that are Charlotte Mason inspired. And we've dabbled in a lot of different stuff. Now the motivation to choose what I'm going to reveal to you in this video stemmed from my disappointment with the literature that was chosen for the history books on Ambleside Online. We were having a lot of luck with Ambleside for the few weeks that we really committed to it. But I really just decided in the end that I had to find, especially in terms of history and geography, I really wanted to find some more modern books that represented just a more modern way of thinking about people and cultures, and the stories that we tell about our history. And I wanted to make sure that those stories weren't coming from just Europeans, right? And when I walked away from Ambleside, I felt so heavy-hearted. I was really feeling like, gosh, am I walking away from Charlotte Mason? Because my heart was really in this whole living narrative approach to teaching everything. So, needless to say, I had someone reach out to me on Instagram, and they said, have you heard of the Alveary? And I had, of course, but I had never really looked at it. I think, first of all, the membership fee kind of deterred me, and I also assumed that that it was really similar to a lot of the other Charlotte Mason curriculums that are perhaps very Christian or biblical with their materials. But I thought, why not? Let's just give it another shot. And when I looked at Alveary's curriculum and specifically their history lineup of books, I was very impressed. I have talked a little bit about this in past videos, so I don't want to go too much into their history. And I will say that we have started the grade 3 history with my daughter. Grade 3 history, well, grades 1, 2, and 3 all focus on American history. Grade 1, it's so cool, you guys. They only do Native American history for the whole year of first grade, which is just such a powerful introduction to our history. And then grades 2 and 3 are actually batched together. And I'll talk a little bit more about how they go about doing that with forms. So grades 2 and 3 study the same history, which is early American, and that's the history that we're doing. We have started that curriculum. We are on lesson 4, and it's going really well. I am going to give you guys probably a nice history update on how that curriculum is going for us, because what I'm going to share with you today is stuff that I haven't started yet, that I don't have plans to do this year. And so I want to make sure that I give you guys a video that really talks about using Alveary, because everything I'm going to show you today, again, is stuff that we're not touching until next year. Okay, so let's get into the meat of what this video is about. I became an Alveary member. When I bought the history, I only bought the history. I was not planning on buying a $300 membership for our curriculum plans next year. And that's mostly because I didn't know enough about the whole breadth of what they offer. I really only was looking for a history curriculum, right? But also because we are a part of a public charter school who offers our family funding every year, and they don't cover memberships with curriculum companies. So this would be $300 out of pocket when, you know, I have funding for curriculum. So that wasn't a super easy choice to make. But you guys, when I started looking at the variety that they offer, oh my God, it is so thoughtful. It is so comprehensive. There is an entire Charlotte Mason education in here that I'm really excited to use. Okay, I make notes for a lot of my videos, but I almost never look at them. I'm gonna try to look at them so maybe this video doesn't get too long. Okay, so again, those of you who are new to Alveary, I just want to mention a few things. The Alveary membership is $300 for the year. So what you are paying for is, well, it's so much. You're paying for access to all of the lesson plans for all of the grades for that rotation that they're on that year. This is where it gets a little tricky with history because they offer two different rotations. I chose rotation 1 for our history this year, which is early American history from like 800 to 1600 AD. And then they are currently on rotation 2, which is like 1600 to 1850. That's what we're going to do next year. I wanted to, I wanted to get that early American history for us this year. Why that's important is because I have chosen to follow Alveary a rotation behind, and there's a thoughtful purpose for that. They do not release their book list until February 1st, and then they don't release their teacher guides until June 1st. So when you become a member, if you're planning to follow their current rotation of history, which basically encompasses all the other subjects, much like Ambleside, if you do that, then you're not getting access to the teacher guides until June, which is just, you know, as we know, a few months before or 2 months before the school year starts. I am not into that. I have to plan. Like, I have to pre-read a lot of the books. I really want to embody the lesson plans. I don't just want a couple of months to study those. And also, all of the printing and organizing that looks like this was, you know, over 1,000 pages, obviously depending on what you choose to use. So that's why we are following a rotation behind, so that I have access to everything we're going to use next year a year beforehand. So hopefully that makes sense. So what's really nice though is that like next year, I can see everything. I've printed everything. I can buy all the books. If we choose to stay with Alveary, I will be able to see the book selections for what will be my daughter's 5th grade year and my son's 2nd grade year in February. So I can even order all of those books for those upcoming years in February, which is really nice. That's if you're like an insane planner like I am. Okay, let's see, moving forward. So Alveary provides all of the Charlotte Mason subjects. I mean, all of them. I couldn't even list all of them because I wouldn't remember. But just to give you an idea of what I'm planning to do with my daughter next year, it feels really strange doing a curriculum reveal this early for next year. But it's not unheard of. And because I have invested the money in this membership, I might as well fill you guys in because there's just no way this is changing. I've already put way too much money and work into it. Okay, so to give you, oh here, perfect. I have a schedule here that I have already been working on that I can look at to tell you the subjects that we're going to be using from Alveary for my daughter next year. We will be using composer study, geography, citizenship, science, Spanish, some language arts, grammar, keyboarding, history, which in the 4th grade includes both U.S. history and world history, artist study, general science, natural history handiwork. Okay. Oh, Shakespeare. Okay. I don't know how many that was. That's not everything that they offer. The things that I have chosen not to do with Alveary next year for my rising fourth grader is, we'll get into this in a minute, but their copy work and dictation and recitation, I will be pulling from other sources, and I have a reason for that. Other things we won't be using, they offer physical education, which is just incredible. There's all these video links to do like solfa, singing and folk dancing, and physical education with like jump rope and all these games and stuff. It's remarkable, the breadth of subjects that they offer. We won't be doing that. I won't be doing their poetry because I have another poetry plan for next year. So I do have a couple things in my pocket that I won't be revealing, which is nice to have something. We will not be doing their folk songs. I will not be doing Sloyd next year. And that's it. We are using everything else, which is why my daughter's binder is thick with subjects, and she also has a separate binder. So these are like flex binders you can find on Amazon. She also has her own student work binder that has her Spanish workbook pages and science lab notebook. And then it will also have her copy work and dictation passages. It will have paper for her written narrations. And I believe that's it. I did choose to not print these manuals off separately because that would have been so many teacher guides. I really think that like if you're thinking about Alveary, I really recommend getting just like a fat, very flexible binder for all of those guides, because the cool thing too about Alveary is that the guides are fairly thin. And that's because this is a Charlotte Mason curriculum that is not overly lead. I love how lead it is. It's like the perfect amount of hand holding to guide especially new Charlotte Mason educators. But it is not heavy with busy work and projects and all these other things that a lot of other curriculum are. So like, for example, I'll just give you a glance here. This is the science teacher guide. So it looks like this on the cover. This is how thin it is. And this is double-sided. But one lesson, and I think I will turn the camera around so I can give you guys a look at the format of their lessons. But 1 week has, for like science, for example, 1 week has 3 lessons. And one would be natural history, another one would be general science, and then the last one would be lab work. And they are so concise. I'm already getting off track with my notes, you guys. Just chit chat. So as you can see here, this is week 5, general science, and it's just this long. So this is what you do. Oh, it's so nice because it's built around literature, like Ambleside, right? But it just has that perfect amount of guidance. And I'm going to go over the style. How cute is my cat, you guys? I'm going to go over like the formatting of the lessons with you. But before I do that, I want to tell you what I'm using for my son for grade 1 next year. His is going to be a little bit less. Because grade 1 just doesn't have as many subjects. Like for my daughter, some of the newer things are going to be science labs and citizenship, which is a precursor to Plutarch. Okay, so this gives you an idea of how kind of minimal a first graders would be. This is both family subjects and my son's teacher guides in this one binder. So I have his rough draft schedule here. With the Alveary, he is going to be doing composer study with us. He's doing their grade 1 reading lessons that I'm really excited to try out. This is just kind of like reveal after reveal, but I'm really not going to give you a whole lot of information about all of these different picks, but that's okay. This is, otherwise this video will be way too long. We are going to be doing some of the literature, but I have other language arts plans for him next year. We are going to be doing their poetry. We are doing their, let's see, we might be doing some of their science, but I have another science plan for next year that I'm very excited to reveal to you guys. Let's see, we will be doing their history and geography and Spanish with him. We will be doing their studio art with him. So the things that I'm not doing with Woody next year, we are not going to be doing their recitation. We will not do, we're most likely not doing the majority of their science. We're not doing, let's see, sewing level 1. Starts in grade 1 apparently. We're not doing that. Handiwork doesn't start until grade 2 with Alveary, and if we want to follow the video tutorials that are amazing, then I think that makes a lot of sense because it'll just be too advanced. The handiwork next year looks so good. We're not going to do the term 1 embroidery because they are embroidering a Bible verse, and I'll talk a little bit about like how religious is Alveary and how secular is it. But anyway, we're going to skip that one. But we're doing clay modeling next year. And it's like the clay modeling, you guys, is so cool. They have videos, but then they have this really great book that you reference. And what they're modeling is like fruit. I mean, it's not just that, but like you would think that like an orange would be like so simple it might not look like an orange. But the way that they show the kids how to model these things like a pear or a fruit looks so realistic and so beautiful. And yet simple. So I'm really excited for the clay modeling. And then I'm really excited for the leather work that we're going to do next year, where we are actually going to make, I mean, we're going to make several projects with leather, but we're going to make a wallet. And my daughter is so into like handcrafts, like crafts that are purposeful. She loves that stuff. So, very excited about that. But anyway, sorry, getting back to my son. We're not doing handiwork with him next year. We're not doing the physical education. We're not doing Bible. We're not doing folk songs. It's kind of like the same things as my daughter. But the majority of his core subjects will be with Alveary. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention is that we are doing the Alveary artist study next year. So that gives you an idea of what I'm using from Alveary with each child. Let me talk for a minute because I know that this is a question that some people have. Can you use Alveary family style? And the answer to that, I would say, is yes and no. So Alveary batches their grades, which in a way is family style, but they're doing it in forms, the way that like a classic Charlotte Mason school would, except first grade. So Alveary starts at grade 1. Grade 1 has their own grade. They don't share it with any other grade. But starting in grade 2, it starts to batch into forms. So grades 2 and 3 do the same curriculum. They do the same history, the same literature, same geography, poetry, all that. Grades 4 through 6 all do the same curriculum. So, like, in a way, if you have kids that are those ages, then it's definitely family style, and that's awesome. Those are, and then in grades 7 through 9, they all do the exact same curriculum. And then grades 10 through 12 all do the same curriculum. So it is broken down into forms, and in that light, yes, it is family style. If you had a first grader and a fifth grader, could that be family style? I think the only way, if you really wanted to pair your kids and say the same science or history or geography or whatnot, then you would just really need to choose a grade in the middle and go from there, like choose grade 3 or something like that. What I personally have decided to do with Poppy and Woody, because there is a 3-year difference in their grades, and I have seen a little bit of issue this year with the family style history and science and geography, I can see a clear developmental difference between the two of them. In many ways. In some ways, no. And in some ways, my kindergartner can retain something more than my third grader. But what I think the biggest issue for me has been is that I see more of an interest in going deeper with my third grader than with my kindergartner in, say, when we did our Egypt study this year. And so when we're all together like that, learning some of the same material, it's frustrating for my third grader to not be able to go as deep as she wants to go because I am distracted by my kindergartner and kind of making sure that like he's cool or he's retaining something, or that I'm spelling something out for him or giving him more instruction on, you know, like a illustration or a project or something. So what I have appreciated this year with using Alveary History Grade 3 is that my daughter and I, just like when we were doing Ambleside for a little while, we were doing that separately from my son. And even with, we'll even go into my daughter's bedroom and do our history reading there and her narration. And it's just nice. I think that she appreciates the quality time with me. It allows me to not feel that I have to censor myself in terms of difficult topics, that I can go a bit deeper with my daughter, because my son's inquisitive. He wants to know what we're talking about. He wants to know what something is that I might tell Poppy. And so it's just nice to even just have the privacy to go deeper with her because she is older. And I think that that is very fair. I personally feel that when I batch them together, I am sacrificing parts of my older one's education by doing that. And that's just a personal revelation. I know that family style works really well for some people. Let's see though. So for next year, what I am planning on doing individually is my daughter's science and history and geography. And then my son his science is a little different. I'll let you guys know, but he will have individual history and geography. And then of course his reading lessons, and then her language arts. Those have always been separate. And of course math too. What's really cool is that Alveary recommends Right Start as their math through and through until like 8th grade, I think it goes to. So that's really cool. I don't have to like have FOMO about some new math program that they recommend because we already use Right Start. Okay, before I get into what like a lesson looks like for, say, a social studies topic or science or something, I want to talk a little bit about how religious is Alveary and how secular is it and why we chose it. And then I want to hit what I am most excited about by using Alveary and what I am most nervous about. Okay, so how religious is Alveary? It is definitely run, so it's run by the Charlotte Mason Institute, and it is a Christian company, absolutely, and they do have a whole subject for Bible, and then they also have church history as a part of their history, but the church history is totally separate from their history curriculum. So like if you were buying individual subjects, then you wouldn't have to worry about those two being embedded together. That's something else that I forgot to mention, and I apologize. You do not have to pay for a membership to use Alveary. They don't, I don't believe that they offer all of their subjects individually, but they offer many. And like, you know, as I said earlier, that's how I got the history grade 3. I just bought that. So just so you know, you can try it out. They also have fantastic samples. You can get a sample from this rotation, and you can get a sample of last rotation history and literature online on their website. And it's a great sample. Okay, so my biggest concern with following a Charlotte Mason education has been its roots in Christianity. And I've always been aware of that. What I love about Alveary is that I feel from now reading through several teachers' guides that it is basically a secular curriculum. You can make it religious by choosing, like I said, the Bible and church history. But for the most part, I even want to say like 90% of what I have chosen to use is secular. For example, the history lessons, which is what I've been most concerned about, the history lessons I went through the entire year for grade 3 history. I wanted to make sure that they were not pulling in any Bible verses, that they were not using the Bible at any point as history, like other Charlotte Mason curriculum companies do, like say Beautiful Feet Books or Simply Charlotte Mason. You will very oftentimes find Bible passages within their lessons, and then the guide will say or ask the students something about that Bible passage and how it relates to what you are studying that day. I don't want anything like that, and I don't want to have to curate around that if I don't have to. I know as a Charlotte Mason homeschooler, I'm always kind of prepared for that, but I am so pleased to see that not one history lesson in Alveary, grade 3 history anyway, is there any reference to the Bible, or to Bible history or to church history. So I'll just put that out there, that's a pretty good example, I think, of what I'll find in the rest, although I can't be sure. And I only have this rotation that they're on. I only have those guides to look at, because those are the only ones that are available. So I can't tell you if this will remain consistent, but I was really pleased with that. The books, so far, I am not seeing any religious content that is presenting religion as truth. Obviously, in history, you're going to study a lot of religion because religion led a lot of the history that we have. So another reason that I know most of the books are secular is because, like I've said, we are with a public charter school, and they have purchased every single book except for 2 that were based on religious content that they said no to. Do you want to say hi? I have Poppy here.
Hi! I'm doing my PJs. I don't mind that.
And those books were Robert Boyle, The Trailblazer of Science for, I believe, grade 4 science, and the Christian Liberty Reader, Christian Liberty Nature Reader for grade 1 science, which I'm not even sure if we're going to use. The Christian one, obviously, I understand. The Robert Boyle Trailblazer, I was curious, so I looked it up, and I was like really into what I've read about that book, and that the science is definitely, gosh, I don't know, maybe 300 years ago. I don't know. I feel like I read that he lived in the 1600s, maybe even longer. But that he, Trailblazer of Science, obviously, was probably a long time ago. But that he did not differentiate science from creation. And in my spiritual work, I don't either. So I don't need to get into the book. We can maybe talk about it more in a different video. But I actually really liked what I saw with that book and what his work was about. So anyway, those were the only 2 books that were denied from our public charter school. And you guys, you're going to see in a book haul coming up pretty soon. But I bought, I think for Poppy's year alone next year, we're doing roughly 40 books. And most of those are Alveary. And so that just goes to show that most, if not all of those books are secular. That's really the only proof that I have at this point that I feel the program is mostly secular, but as we get into future years, there may be other things that come up. I do know that as a member, so you get access to a lot of the member perks, including like their office hour videos. So there might be a topic about like, well, when is composition introduced? How does Alveary go about teaching mechanical writing and essays and such? And that's just one example. There is a slew of videos of teacher hours, office hours. And I have noticed that there is quite a bit of religious dialogue within some of those videos. I think that there is some religious dialogue within like the book talk videos that you can find on YouTube about why they chose certain books that they did. But the books themselves are not religious. It's just that the philosophy that the company is built on is. And so there is going to be a little bit of interweaving there. So essentially, this is why we chose it. I wanted to stay with Charlotte Mason, but I didn't want to have to filter through all these book choices and figure out if they were the best for us. I'm so impressed with how modern these book choices are, while also bringing in classic books as well. I think there's a great balance of both. And I am particularly very impressed with the multicultural perspective and lens on history that Alveary represents. I love that when they bring in world history, it is not just solely focused on European history. It is world history. I love that. They bring in so many minority voices. They have these incredible titles of like, gosh, I can't remember the name of the book, but a biography of a slave poet. And they've got all of this Native American history that is, some of it is not written by Native American authors, but you can tell there is so much thought and intention put behind the Native American voices and non-Native authors that they have chosen. I'm really, really impressed. I think that, especially in terms of history, this is really that unicorn curriculum that I have been hoping to find. Okay, what I want to say real quick before I turn the camera around and show you what a lesson looks like, I want to say what I'm most excited about for next year and what I'm most nervous about. So I think for next year for Poppy, I'm most excited about the science and history plans. The science, I love that we're starting to bring in like general science. We have been doing a lot of nature study the last few years, but fourth grade is when Charlotte Mason gets a bit more scientific with general science and lab work. And next year we're going to be working closely with a real microscope, not just like the digital microscope I have, but a real one. So we have to purchase that still, but that's going to be really exciting. And then I think what I am most excited about with Woody are the reading lessons with Alveary. They look so thorough, and yet playful, and just what I really feel like. I really feel that they encompass what I've been lacking in all of the reading curriculum that I have acquired over the years. I really haven't seen something quite so thorough as I have with Alveary reading lessons. Okay, what I'm most nervous about, and I'll show you a picture here, is the schedule. So because Poppy's going to be in fourth grade, you know, it's just a more serious year for her. She's going to be doing more writing.
And are you going to grade my paper?
Am I going to grade your papers? We'll see. And we are bringing in some new topics like citizenship, which is a totally new thing for us. Like I said, that's like an introduction to Plutarch. We'll see. You'll see. And then what else did I want to mention? Like the science lab work that she'll be doing is totally new. Oh, we are going to be, I'm so glad we're reading the Shakespeare stories this year, because next year Poppy will be reading, we'll be reading together her very first Shakespeare play, A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Wait, reading it?
Reading the actual play. So
we already read it.
We read the story about the play, but we're going to read the actual play, which is the characters speaking back and forth to each other in old Shakespearean English. So it's going to be awesome. And she already knows the story really well because we read it. So, but I am just, so yeah, based on that, the schedule is just kind of gnarly. And, you know, Charlotte Mason taught these subjects in quick lessons, and you just got to like have a solid plan, and you got to keep going and bouncing from one thing to the next. So far that is working for us. But sometimes I often wonder what life would be like if we were just one of those families that did reading, math, social studies, science, and didn't include 15 other enrichment subjects.
Are we one of those families?
We are not one of those families. We are the family that does those things on top of like 15 other enrichment subjects. But it's the enrichment that my kids have loved the most and that I've enjoyed teaching the most. So like artist study, like paper Sloyd, nature study, yeah, all those things, handiwork. So yeah, like Charlotte Mason's working really well for us. So I feel really good about it. I'm just intimidated by what the schedule looks like. Okay, so I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to just show you like barely anything because this video is going to be too long. But I'm going to show you just the layout of maybe a science lesson and a history lesson to give you an idea of how Alveary is super Charlotte Mason, but it still holds your hand just enough. Okay, so I just flipped open to a random week in Science Grade 4. I think what I'll do is I'll show you an example of a lesson from Science Grade 4, and then I'll show you an example of, say, History Grade 1. All right, so for science next year, we will be doing it 3 days a week. Okay, but the way that they have it laid out is that one day you do natural history, another day you do general science, and then the third day you do your labs. So it's only supposed to be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes for the labs. So that's the longest science day, and I would imagine that, you know, you can take up to 30 minutes if you need it, but some children could probably finish that sooner. So for natural history, you're reading A World in a Drop of Water. It shows you your materials here. You have, in every single lesson, there is an introduction. This I really like, and this is something that I've been missing the mark with other Charlotte Mason curriculum, because I forget, is to recall what you learned the lesson before. So recall maybe what you read, most importantly, or recall what you discussed. And they literally tell you, they remind you every time, recall what you learned in the last passage. Today we will read about another creature called Euglena. Don't know what that word is, but I love that they will remind you to recall, and then in each lesson, and sometimes it gets a little bit more detailed here, but they will offer like a little spark about what the lesson is going to be like to engage your kids, so that you don't just jump into the next reading and the kids don't have any idea what it's going to be about. So I think it plants a little seed of interest. And then there's always read, narrate, discuss. So they give you the pages that you're going to read from A World in a Drop of Water, and then always the child will narrate what they read, and then there will be, you know, like leave a little room for discussion. Sometimes they tell you or give you an idea of what to discuss. Like down here for week 8, the discussion is rotifers are the same size as many of the protists that we met this term, yet they are animals. Why? So sometimes so I do appreciate when there is a discussion point. For that same week, on the next day, you will do general science. This is when you are working with a microscope. What did we see last week in the intro? Today, we have another question that scientists are using microscopes to investigate. And then you will view what they give you here. So here's the video link up here, and this is on every single subject. They have this QR code for a whole list of links that are just fantastic. These links really help you throughout your lesson. They offer images for you to look at, videos. They just give you that extra richness to the lesson that keeps the kids engaged. And I think that when it's just a book curriculum, like say Ambleside, this stuff is really missing, and I think it's so helpful. So you would click here to view whatever this link is, and then you would narrate and discuss. And then on the third day, you do your labs. So this would be in the kids' lab book, and then you would need the materials listed. They tell you what to do, and that's that. Look at how short these 3 days are for science. I just absolutely love this. This is how Poppy's grade 3 history has been laid out. They only schedule history 1 day a week for grades 2 and 3, but we can handle more. So we've been doing 2 a week, and yeah, it's just nice and sweet and short, but it's perfect. All right, so let me give you guys a peek at the grade 1 history. This teacher guide, look how teeny. Oh my goodness, for the whole year, look how small that is. Teeny. All right, so let's check it out. Grade 1 history is only meant to be taught 1 day a week, just like grades 2 and 3. To kind of give you a little view here of the intro to the teacher guide, you know, they're going to give you a little bit about the course. You're going to have your books listed here. they're going to tell you how often to do it, 1 time a week for 10 minutes. And then they just, you know, they give you an example of where you could put it in. And then there's a really brief planning and prep. You guys, this doesn't hurt my brain. I love how minimal their teacher guides are. Here it gives you, so this link is cool, view book list details, because it gives you links of where to find the books to buy, but then it also has links for the PDF files that you might need for certain subjects like Spanish or reading. When you click this, it gives you access to any PDF file that you need to print. There's also just like additional great resources like maps, and like for reading, there's all of these flashcards that you need that are just there ready to print. It'll give you your supplies, and then here's even more links for just extra help. Literally says extra helpings. They have a bookshelf link where you can see all of these free reads that they recommend. And you can find, you know, all those at the QR code. And then it gives you a really brief, like, okay, so this is a perfect example, and I should have shown you before last look at the science. This is how they break down basically every lesson in basically every subject. So you prepare as a teacher, read through the lesson, gather your materials, maybe pre-read if you want. Then with your student, you're going to recap what you learned the lesson before, and then you're going to introduce the next topic. So that might be through a picture or a map or just an engaging question to pique the student's interest. And then you're going to read. And then from there, you would do your narration and discussion. And that's it. So getting into term 1 here, let's just look at this lesson. So this is term 1, week 1, week 2, week 3, because this is only taught once a week. For 10 minutes, you're going to read The First Americans. You would need the book and a globe or a map. And then I love the intro here, and this has been really helpful in Poppy's history lessons, is that they guide you to have a map for these lessons, and they tell you where to point or which route to look at if you're studying the Vikings. So point to Iraq on a globe. This is where the Garden of Eden is believed to have been. From there, where could people spread out? Okay, so yes, there is a biblical reference here. But I promise this is the only one I've seen. From there, where could people spread out and walk as the population grew? Point to North America. Could they walk here? How do you think they might have gotten here? And then you would read this. It just says page 1, long ago. Where does it, how much do you read? Okay, so down here you would read page 1 through 8, page 9 through 16 on the 3rd day. And then over here they might have additional info, like especially for the younger kids with narrating, they really encourage you to draw or paint a scene from the story. Here's a teacher tip. Students should also be encouraged to narrate using Legos and puppets or acting out the scene. Down here, they even give you a nature notebook prompt. If you like, go to a natural area near your home. Imagine you are a Native American living in that place. Notice what is around you. How would you make food? How would you survive? And that's it. It's just, I just love that it's so consistent and minimal. All right, guys, I know that I'm going to have more to say about Alveary. With all of these like major plans to use it next year, there's definitely going to be more videos. I am just getting my feet wet. And so I'm still getting used to the website, all the member benefits. I am trying to put together a schedule for next year. I have a pretty good rough draft. They even offer scheduling templates, which is like such a gift. Like you can edit these on the computer. They even offer scheduling tiles. So if you're more of a visual person, that's where that photo came from that I showed you earlier. If you're more of a visual person, you can literally map out your schedule with these tiles. And then from there, type it up into something a little bit easier and not so overwhelming to look at. So as you can see, my kids are ready for me to be done filming. I'm really excited about these plans, and I would love to speak with more Alveary followers. If you're watching this, I'd love to know who you are, how you like it, how long you've used it, what's really worked and what hasn't worked for you. But anyway, I'm just happy to share these plans, and I'll see you guys in the comments. Bye.